Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com. In this tutorial we're going to look at auto wiring by constructor, and we saw in the last tutorial that if there is ambiguity for some reason when we're auto wiring by type, then we can choose to auto wire by name. One thing I actually want to emphasize is that in the last tutorial the problem was that both of these properties expect the same interface, and both of my beans implement that interface. And I want to emphasize that you can also have ambiguity because both of the beans derive from the same parent class and the property expects the parent class, or simply because both beans are literally of the same type. So here my beans, if you look at the beans.xml, yeah, they're of different classes, but they could literally be the same class. And again, then we can't use by type, we would have to use by name or explicit wiring. There's one more type of auto wiring, and in fact there used to be I think it was auto detect type of auto wiring that would try to find the right kind of auto wiring, but since Spring 3 I believe that's been deprecated. And so if we now look at the possible values for auto wiring this logger class that I've got here, let's go to auto wire. We see apart from default and no, we've only got the choice by name, by type and constructor, so we no longer have auto detect. Let's set it to constructor, and in fact first I'm just going to run this program, and if I run it you'll see that I get a null pointer exception because this bean isn't wired in, and neither for that matter is this bean, but since it crashes here we don't get on to using this bean. So to wire things by constructor, I need to give this a constructor. So let's give logger a constructor. Let's say public logger, and I'll say, oh well, one thing I have to mention about auto wiring constructors is that it works by type. So here I need to have the right types of beans that I expect to be supplied to my constructor. So let's say here console writer, and the other one I've got is it's file writer, I think. Yeah, file writer. And now let's just say this dot console writer equals console writer, and there we go. Whoops, no, trying to use the autocomplete here. And this dot file writer, in fact what I should have done now that I think of it is use Eclipse to automatically generate the constructor, but that's fine. So if I run this now it's going to crash because there's no default constructor now. I've defined a constructor, and that means we lose the default constructor in effect. So let's run this and we get a crash, a different kind of crash. But what I can do is if I go to beans.xml and go to logger, I can set auto wire to constructor, this third type, and if I run it now the program runs just fine. So we've auto wired by constructor, and the important thing is to remember that this only works by type, so these are going to have the right types and it can't be ambiguous. You might wonder if you can mix auto wiring constructors with auto wiring properties, and well, the answer is, using XML, as far as I know, the answer is no, you can't. And we're going to look at annotation-based XML, annotation-based wiring later on, which is going to be interesting. But once you've set auto wire to constructor, you can't auto wire the properties of this anymore. So that's it for this tutorial, and until next time, happy coding.